Have you ever woken up and felt like your mind was wrapped in a thick, heavy fog? You're sitting there with your morning coffee, staring at your to-do list, but nothing feels clear. You know what you should do. You know there's work to be done, dreams to chase, a life waiting for you out there. And yet your brain feels frozen. I've been in that place before. And honestly, it's frustrating. It's exhausting. We live in a world that constantly tells us, push harder, move faster, never stop. But here's the thing: when your mind is clouded, those words don't help. They make it worse. Because mental fog isn't a lack of effort. It's not laziness. It's a signal. A sign that something inside you is out of balance. The turning point for me came when I discovered something almost laughably simple yet incredibly powerful. It wasn't about pouring another cup of coffee. It wasn't about forcing myself to grind through the day on sheer willpower. It was about one single reset, a quiet, intentional moment that swept away the fog and replaced it with something I had been craving for years: calm energy. And today, I'm going to share exactly what that reset is. But more than that, I'll show you how you can use it, starting today, to bring back clarity, focus, and peace anytime you need it. Because here's the truth: you don't have to live at the mercy of your mental state. You can learn to clear the fog. You can learn to choose calm energy over chaos. And when you do, your life changes in ways you never imagined. 1. Recognize the fog as a signal, not a flaw. Most of us, when our mind feels foggy, we immediately turn inward with blame. Why can't I focus? What's wrong with me? Why am I like this today? But what if I told you mental fog isn't a personal weakness at all? It's not a defect. It's not laziness. It's a signal. It's your mind's way of whispering, something is out of balance. Slow down. Pay attention. Think about it: when your phone shows a low battery warning, you don't yell at it, do you? You don't call it broken. You don't shame it for not working at full speed. You simply plug it in. You recharge it. Your brain works the same way. That foggy feeling, that's your low battery light. It's telling you, I need to reset. I need a recharge. The day I truly understood this, everything changed. Instead of fighting my fog, instead of trying to power through it with more caffeine or more noise, I started asking, what is this fog trying to tell me? What needs to shift in my life right now? And the answers were almost always simple: I needed rest. I needed stillness. I needed to step away from the noise and give my mind space to breathe. Let me ask you this: the last time you felt mentally drained, did you try to fix it by doing more? Or did you pause long enough to hear what your mind was saying? Because here's the truth: when you stop treating the fog as an enemy and start treating it as a messenger, you open the door to clarity faster than you think. 2. Don't just push pause. We've been taught our whole lives that the only way to get through challenges is to push harder. Keep going. Don't stop. Work through it. But what if clarity doesn't always come from doing more? What if sometimes the clearest answers appear when you stop? I know that sounds counterintuitive, especially in a culture that glorifies the grind. But my reset began with something radically simple: 5 minutes of nothing. No phone buzzing in my hand. No notifications stealing my attention. No podcasts, no music, no news. Just me sitting, breathing, and letting my thoughts settle, the way snow slowly drifts to the bottom of a glass after you've shaken it. And here's the thing: in that short pause, something powerful happened. The noise in my head began to fade. The tension in my body started to loosen. And for the first time that day, my mind had room to breathe. When was the last time you gave yourself permission to do nothing? Not scrolling. Not planning the next move. Just being. It's not laziness. It's maintenance. It's like pulling your car over to the side of the road for a moment, not because you're giving up, but because you're making sure you'll actually get to your destination in one piece. That pause is where clarity is born. It's where you can hear your own thoughts again without the static of the world drowning them out. So the next time your mind feels heavy, don't force it forward. Stop. Breathe. Let the snow in the glass settle. Because sometimes the fastest way to move forward is to stand still. 3. Anchor yourself in the present moment. Mental fog, it has two favorite hiding places. One is in the regrets of yesterday. The other is in the worries of tomorrow. And here's the trap: when your mind is stuck in either of those places, you're not really living today. You're just replaying or pre-playing over and over, and the present moment slips right through your fingers. That's why this reset works. Because it brings you right back here, right now. For me, It starts with something incredibly small, something you could do this very second. I close my eyes. I feel the air filling my lungs, expanding my chest. I notice the subtle weight of my feet pressing into the floor. And I just stay there for a moment. It's like pressing the home button on your brain. You stop running through a maze of thoughts and suddenly you're back at center. You'd be surprised how many answers you've been chasing are right here, waiting in the present. But you can't hear them if your mind is too busy arguing with the past or fearing the future. So let me ask you, when was the last time you truly felt here? Not scrolling through memories. Not scripting the next chapter. Just inhabiting this exact moment? Here's the beauty: you don't need a meditation retreat or an hour of silence to get there. Sometimes, 3 slow breaths are enough to pull you out of yesterday and tomorrow and plant you firmly in today. And when you're anchored here, the fog starts to lift, not because you solved everything, but because you stop letting everything pull you away from now. Because this moment right here is the only place where clarity actually lives. 4. Trade stimulation for restoration. When your mind feels foggy, what's your first instinct? For most of us, it's to stimulate the brain. More coffee, louder music, scrolling endlessly on our phones, hoping something will wake us up. But here's the problem: stimulation is like shouting into the ear of someone who's already overwhelmed. It doesn't create clarity. It just adds to the noise. That's why this reset isn't about more stimulation, it's about restoration. Restoration is quieter, slower. It's not about jolting your brain into action, it's about giving it space to come back to life on its own. For me, that might look like walking outside without my phone, feeling the breeze on my face, hearing the sound of leaves moving in the wind. It might be drinking a glass of water slowly, noticing every sip. Or simply taking a pen and writing down every single thought in my head, not to solve them, but to free up the mental space they've been occupying. These small, restorative acts have a way of clearing mental fog far more effectively than the quick hits of stimulation we reach for out of habit. Think about it. When was the last time you gave your mind the gift of silence? When was the last time you let yourself rest, not as a reward for finishing the work, but as the thing that makes the work possible? Because here's what I've learned: stimulation is like lighting a match. It flares up fast, but it burns out just as quickly. Restoration is like tending a fire. It's slower, steadier, and it keeps you warm all day. And if you truly want to replace mental fog with calm energy, restoration will get you there long after the coffee wears off. 5. Ask one clarifying question. Once the noise in my head starts to quiet down, I do something simple, but incredibly powerful. I ask myself one question. If I could only do one thing today that truly matters, what would it be? It sounds almost too basic, right? But here's the magic: it forces your mind to cut through the clutter. You see, Napoleon Hill called this definiteness of purpose. The idea is simple: when you have a clear, singular target, your mind stops scattering its energy in 10 different directions. It lines up, like a beam of light through a magnifying glass, focused, powerful, and able to burn through the fog. Most of us wake up and carry around a dozen half-formed goals. We want to answer all our emails, finish all our tasks, make everyone happy, fix every problem, and we end up exhausted, with nothing truly meaningful done. But when you stop and ask that one clarifying question, everything changes. Suddenly, you know where to start. You know where to place your energy. And every other decision gets easier, because it's either helping you reach that one thing, or it's not. Let me ask you, if you looked at your day right now, could you name that one thing? Not 10. Not 5. Just 1. Because here's the truth: it's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. And the moment you get clear on that, your brain stops spinning in circles. The fog begins to lift. And you move forward, not just busy, but with purpose. Here's what I've learned. Mental fog is not your enemy. It's not a flaw, not a weakness. It's a signal meant to be noticed, not ignored. The simple reset I've shared with you today: pause, breathe, anchor yourself, restore, ask the right question, move your body, and remove what drains you has completely transformed the way I work, think, and live. It taught me something powerful. I don't need frantic, rushed energy to move forward. What I need is calm energy, the kind that's steady, focused, and unshakable. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "You have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts." And when you learn to clear the fog, you take back that control. So the next time you wake up with your mind feeling heavy, Don't run toward more noise. Run toward the pause. Anchor yourself in the present moment. Ask that one clarifying question. Move your body. Remove one thing that's been quietly draining you. And then just watch how quickly your world begins to come back into focus. Pause, softer voice. Because clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from peace. And calm energy will take you farther than you ever imagined. 6. Move your body to move your mind. Your mood, your focus, your mental clarity, they're all deeply connected to your physical state. If you've been sitting in one position for hours, staring at a screen, your body isn't the only thing that stiffens. Your brain does too. It's no surprise that when your body slows to a crawl, your thoughts often do the same. That's why one of the fastest ways to clear mental fog is to simply move. And I don't mean an intense gym session or running a marathon. I mean the small, intentional movements that signal to your brain, we're waking up now. For me, it might be a short walk around the block, feeling the rhythm of my steps, the fresh air brushing against my face. Sometimes it's just a few slow stretches, reaching my arms overhead, rolling my shoulders back, opening up my chest like I'm making space for more air, more life to flow in. Other times, it's standing tall, planting my feet firmly on the ground, and taking 3 deep breaths as if I'm telling my whole system, we're here. We're alive. Let's go. I've had days where my mind went from sluggish to crystal clear in 10 minutes, all because I stepped outside and let the sunlight touch my skin. So let me ask you, when was the last time you gave your brain the gift of movement? Not as exercise, not as something to check off, but as a way to shift your entire state. Because here's the truth, your mind follows your body's lead. When your body wakes up, your mind wakes up. And sometimes, the difference between a foggy day and a focused one is as simple as getting up and taking that first step. 7. Remove one energy drain. Sometimes, mental fog doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from the hidden leaks in our energy. And here's the tricky part, those leaks often feel small in the moment, but over time, they drain us completely. It might be the constant stream of negative news you scroll through first thing in the morning. It might be that one conversation you keep having with someone who always leaves you feeling tense, frustrated, or smaller than you really are. Or maybe it's a task you've been avoiding for weeks, one that sits in the back of your mind like a heavy stone, quietly stealing your focus. When I started paying attention, I realized how many of these drains I had been carrying without even noticing. That's why part of my daily reset is asking myself, what's one thing I can remove today that's been quietly draining my energy? And here's the key, it doesn't have to be forever. Sometimes it's just for the day. Maybe you skip the morning news. Maybe you mute notifications from a group chat that's more drama than value. Maybe you finally cross that lingering task off your list so it stops taking up space in your head. Every time I do this, I feel a little lighter. My mind clears. And maybe most importantly, I feel back in control. Let me ask you, what would happen if, just for today, you removed one thing that's been quietly pulling you down? Not 5 things. Not a complete life overhaul. Just one. Because here's what I've found, clearing mental fog isn't just about adding good habits. It's also about removing the subtle, silent forces that are working against you. And the moment you do, it's like opening a window in a stuffy room. Fresh air rushes in. You can finally breathe again. Here's what I've learned. Mental fog is not your enemy. It's not a flaw, not a weakness. It's a signal meant to be noticed, not ignored. The simple reset I've shared with you today: pause, breathe, anchor yourself, restore, ask the right question, move your body, and remove what drains you has completely transformed the way I work, think, and live. It taught me something powerful. I don't need frantic, rushed energy to move forward. What I need is calm energy, the kind that's steady, focused, and unshakable. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "You have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts." And when you learn to clear the fog, you take back that control. So the next time you wake up with your mind feeling heavy, don't run toward more noise. Run toward the pause. Anchor yourself in the present moment. Ask that one clarifying question. Move your body. Remove one thing that's been quietly draining you. And then just watch how quickly your world begins to come back into focus. Pause, softer voice. Because clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from peace. And calm energy will take you farther than you ever imagined.